So in preparation for doing this drawing here, we had to learn a few things. So the first thing and the major thing was that we had to learn how to make a square in perspective. But that was really cool because then once we had the square in perspective, we could make a repeating sort of checkerboard pattern. Cool. We could make a cube, and then with that cube, we could use it as a unit of measurement and make very precise architectural things. We could take a square, and with the square, we could make a circle. In fact, we learned how to make a circle within a circle, and we even learned how to make a cylinder. Now, this drawing here is kind of cool because normally you guys just see the finished product, but actually, I usually work these things out ahead of time on a piece of scratch paper and work through a few ideas. So like here, you could see me working out the basic parameters of what we were going to do. And, things changed a little bit. Like for instance, here was one of the first things I was going to do. And for instance, in this one, it has benches. And the benches, I was going to show you that. The way that we found the distances for these guys right here? Same thing with the benches is that I could figure one size for the bench, draw it through, and find all the sizes for subsequent benches in perspective. Okay. But I thought we had already learned kind of a lot in this lesson, so, we didn't need one more thing. Okay. So anyways, what I figure I'll do now is I'll sort of run through how I laid this drawing out. Remember, you don't have to make a drawing that's exactly like mine. If you make a square, if you make a checkerboard pattern, if you use a cube to make an architectural thing, if you make a cylinder and another circle within a circle to make some sort of an whatever it is, then that is all fine. That's okay. Absolutely. So one of the first things was that we had kind of a high horizon line. Now I want to get things straight in this drawing, so I'm going to do a lot of measuring. So here is how I have the vanishing point. That's how high it's going to be. So I'll measure over from the edge of the paper here and here. And you can see that by doing that, I can get my horizon line nice and straight. And that's going to be kind of more important in this one than in others because remember with the square, I'm going to be going over to this edge quite a lot, right to the edge of your field of vision, right? Okay. So I figured for the purposes of this drawing that I would just make my squares go all the way to the corner of the page. So if you were copying me more or less exactly, it'd be kind of, easy and to do. So we go all the way back here. And you know what? I'm going to draw dark so that you can see it well. But of course, when I was drawing this one out, I drew very light at first so that, I could make mistakes and they would be okay. Okay. Alrighty. Not to mention the fact that, yes, I worked everything out ahead of time. Okay. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and start pulling everything back to the vanishing point. And remember this as well. You don't necessarily have to make your lines go all the way back to the vanishing point if you don't need to. Okay, and so then I figured, I just divided this into quarters, nice and easy. There we go. Back to here. To here. And to here. And it's, nothing magical about making it into quarters. I just did that for you guys so that everything would be very regular, so kind of very easy. And then now here, check this out. So with perspective, the further you are from the vanishing point, the more distorted it's going to be, right? So what I figured is that I'd make my first row of squares incomplete. In other words, you wouldn't see the bottom edge of the squares. So your eye would just have to kind of guess where they would at, which would be cool. So this first line that I'm going to do is totally arbitrary. I think, let's see, maybe up about the size to my first knuckle or something like that. And so I want to make things pretty precise on this one. More precise than I usually would worry about doing. Okay, so I've got those things marked. And I'm going to draw this across. There it is. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that just fine. So we've got our first row. Okay. Well, so now I want to start making squares. So, I would just draw all the way back to here, right? So, okay, we're going to just go here. But you know what? Instead of drawing all the way back to here, I'm just going to have to erase things anyways. I'm only going to go part of the way because I'm just going to end up erasing that anyways. Okay, so now check this out. So what I could do is each one of these is where my next square is. I think I'm just about there to being able to complete my grid all the way to the top. So once again, if I wanted to be nice and precise with my lines, what I would do is I'd find this point right here, and I would measure, right? Because I know it's going to be straight across, and so if I want a straight line, then I'll measure. If I really want something to be straight, I will measure. Remember I said I tend to be a little bit too technical sometimes, and so sometimes I do stuff just to make myself a little bit freer. But look, when I want to be technical, we're going to be technical. Okay, I'm going to extend that a little bit beyond where it is. Okay, good enough. All right, so that's our next row of squares. And of course, this would be our next one right here. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and measure that so I get it nice and straight. And it's cool too because you can do very organic drawings, right? Very naturalistic things, but just have them look a little bit more, well, right if you use perspective. They don't have to look totally mechanical. Your perspective can just be a real guide for, let's say, height on things. Okay. So there we go. There's my next row right there and there. Okay, and I can get one more out of this line. So it's right there. So there. All right. And here. Okay. Now I need a few more to bring it all the way up to where I've got for the back wall for Luigi's. I need a few more. So what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Something like that. So what do I got so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I just need to divide that one more time. So I can do that. Look, all I have to do is bump up one, and that'll do it for me. Right? Because if I go here, that gives me this one right here. And once again, I wouldn't always be so technical and precise. It's just that, a lot of things are going to kind of count on this being right. And so I want it to look good. And let's do even one more. So I would line it up right to there. That'd be my next one, right? I don't have to draw a line all the way through, right? I know. If I just go to here, that's where it's going to be. And there it is. There it is. And there. And that'll be our last one because we'll just put the back wall there. Okay. Now, by laying out this grid like I did, I actually was kind of making a good little cheat for doing the fountain. Because I can say like, well, these are all squares. And so let's say if I took 4 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's the square I can use to make my fountain.